So, the poem Welcome Child on page 1 of your poetic anthology, We Are Our Names, suggests something, in fact, many things, more powerful than just the arrival of a child in the world of names. And we'll discuss that one. First, let's go to Welcome Child on page 1 of the poetic anthology, We Are Our Names.
Okay. Welcome, child. Bump to kick, sigh to cry, come to calm, little hands and little feet, delicate little rosy thing, fragile innocence, beautiful. Welcome to our home, now you're on, as light shone be. Love we made and love you are, traveler in body and spirit, reaching to us in love, and you love granted. In our arms a child, an angel in many worlds. Welcome, child.
Wow, I feel this poem. I always go through it. I'm saying to myself, okay, when we bring children in the world, what are we looking for? What are they going to be like? So let's talk about this. It landed on your table, and as a publisher, you're thinking, okay, I've got a poem. What is going through your mind?
This poem captures it like a snapshot. It's like that whole, the feelings around, the birth of a child, especially in African societies, it's just that the aura of it all. I believe that this is what it brought about, and when I read it, it was very significant actually to the whole book, because it kind of just ties the title of the book and the essence of the book in a way together. So it's one of the poems that I really loved so much. Yeah, I think it has the aura of a newborn around the home, and that warmth that this whole thing comes with. When you check here, he writes little hands and little feet, delicate rosy, little rosy thing, fragile innocence, beautiful. There are all these, the feelings he brings out are like those feelings that we have that we don't communicate to the child. You can be holding this child and feeling like this and not even saying it, just be maybe tickling the child, but it's like this whole poem is happening.
I can see a yearning to say something about Welcome Child.
Okay, so as I was reading it, I was like, this is actually a good opening poem. Considering the name of the book, We Are Our Names, everything is named after birth. We can't name something unless it has been born. Like when you're opening a company, you name a company. When you have a child, you name a child. When you have a festival, you name the festival. So for me, it was like a good opening poem.
So here is the way, so the third line there was me juggling how vulgar should be about this whole thing and the process. But the first stanza is more about, see, when a person conceives a child, some will be initially unhappy, maybe the circumstances were not their best circumstances, didn't want it or anything like that. But eventually, from the bump, which was maybe something they didn't like, maybe something they were very excited about, then there comes the little kick. That's the first excitement. Oh, she kicked. And I've had particularly a situation where a little boy, before he was born, stopped kicking for like 3 hours or 4, and the mother was worried enough to want to rush to the hospital. He hasn't moved. And that's the kind of attachment we have to the child. Of course, this is from the process which is now in the last line, come to come. so that's where that comes in. Now, when this child is actually birthed, like you said, and then now you have actualized this relationship you had with a person, whether intentional or unintentional, but now it has turned into something tangible, something you can hold, you can feel, and it's delicate, it's fragile, it needs you, and you don't even know what it needs or if it doesn't, and you have to work your way around it. And this is when you first start to connect to this person. Now, the next stanza is like, welcome to our home, because you at some point have to accept this child. But then more importantly, you have to name the child now. Now there is this African thing again, where if you don't think you're the father of the child and the child is born and they're asking you to be their father and you refuse to name the child remains unnamed. If the child remains unnamed for up to 10 days, then you do not own the child. You do not welcome them to the earth. It is actually bad enough that there is cases that have claimed that if you don't name the child for more than 10 days, they actually go insane in their life. The life sort of gets a bit abnormal. Now, it's a story for another day, probably for the next poems we're writing, because that's more centered on spirituality and everything. But for this one, it's the love you show by welcoming the child and naming them into your home. Now, this is now, and the brightness they bring into your home after that. Now, when you move from there, you then have to then start acknowledging that this child, in as much as we made this child out of love, or love we made, and this child came out of that love, this child is only a traveler through our life. They must now they get to be 7 and they start refusing to do things, start irritating your life, and they are now starting to live their own journey. And a lot of parents have a very hard time starting to actualize this child and let them become their person, accept them as a traveler through our life, to grow. And then we have the last part now, which now then goes that reaching to us in love, and then you love granted. This is the point at which the parent now finally learns to appreciate this child, and this happens in Zambia mostly around, if you're a good child, and a Catholic child, when you become an altar boy and all those things, and they go like, I'm proud of you, no, you were serving mass today and everything, and your journey becomes a source of happiness and pride for your parents. So now they start drawing love from you, from what you do and that's when you become, and they accept you for what you are. Of course, when you get to 18 and 20, you change again, and then now it's another traveling. From one point to another, you are still a traveler anyway. Then you go to this next stage, and then they accept you. Now he's married, he's a child, the grandchildren are coming, and all that. And this is the love that you now bring into the world, and now you grant to the people that ushered you into it.
This, I think I should call it, because it is a literary work of art. I just described it as a book that you can read for the rest of your life, and that is true. I urge everyone to get it.